Then let's
Make it live.
and we're live. What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and Benny's not here, as you can tell. It is me, Sal, and Faust. So we're just going to be speculating about post-Secret War stuff, because the big question is, what's going to happen, like, once all the comics are over, once all the stories are over, and all we have is Battle World? What stories are going to come to an end? So I'm actually really excited to jump into this, because there's all kinds of stuff that, like, I really, really want to get into.
Yeah.
But we were talking before the podcast started, and we were talking about Spider-Man, about the new Spider-Man film, and Sal, you were saying something about Joe Quesada saying that it was going to be Peter Parker.
It's going to be Peter Parker, apparently. They have a quote from Joe Quesada saying, essentially, they were asking him about, like, what we're going to see, like, who they're thinking. They were trying to elicit some kind of quote, like, you know, who, like, more or less they were looking for, like, casting decisions or maybe some kind of inkling as to what movie he might appear in. And they asked, and Quesada basically said, as long as we get, he's like, the essential thing is to get Peter Parker right. And once Peter Parker is done correctly, Spider-Man falls right into place. And we're like, I guess you're doing Peter Parker then. Okay, all you Miles Morales fans can shut up now. And that's not to say, like, shut up Miles Morales fans. I just mean, like, too bad, it's not going to be him. It's going to be Peter Parker.
Was I really the only one there that was like, do Matty Franklin? She pretended to be Spider-Man, and no one would be expecting it.
It's true. I mean, like, Matty Franklin. They're not going to... Is she still dead?
I think they forgot about her, because she could have been in Spider-Verse, but she wasn't.
No, well, they forgot about her after... Did you ever read Alias, Bendis's crime noir vehicle for Jessica Jones?
That was an amazing series.
Amazing series. Also introduced, not introduced, but included Matty Franklin.
Mm-hmm.
She was like this drug dealer's like town bicycle. It was horrible, and she was just hooked on drugs, and it was just a disaster. And then Grim Hunt happened, and they just murdered her. Like, crap kids killed her. So that was the end of Matty Franklin for now. Unless your name's Kane, you know, you're not usually coming back from death if you're a Spider character. Even poor Ben Reilly can't escape death.
Yeah, Ben Reilly just bit the big one.
But when I eventually start writing for Marvel and they say to me, who do you want to write? I'll be like, Matty Franklin.
Right, and they'll be like, who? Because...
Like, didn't we have a character? Oh, we did, didn't we?
It's not even going to be like that. You're going to have to, like, prove that they did have a character named Matty Franklin. Like
this whole comic series, she changed costume every issue.
Yeah.
Cool. It's cool. You should read it. It's yours.
It's fun. I think Howard Mackey wrote some of that.
But
yeah, so it looks like it's going to be Peter Parker.
And I don't know. Like, see, here, I don't know how I feel about that, because it's time for Peter Parker to take a back seat in the films.
Is it?
Like, we need some Miles Morales.
I think it's time for them to stick to a franchise. Because,
true.
Like, I don't know. For me, I was actually most excited about the prospect of Spider-Man being in the Avengers, as I'm sure many other people were, after seeing Andrew Garfield be Spider-Man. I think I was content back in I guess, like, we need to, as comic book, like, movie fans and as comic book fans, we need to, like, classify comic book movies as, like, PIM, pre-Iron Man, and post-Iron Man, because pre-Iron Man, the Spider-Man franchise was kind of fun, but post-Iron Man, the Spider-Man franchise looks like garbage, because, oh my god, you know, and of course, having it be directed by Sam Raimi really doesn't help, because you have, like, Fist Cam, and you have, like, just every liberty taken by a guy who loves goofy, campy nonsense.
Yeah.
But for most of us, like, I don't know. I loved Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, and in Amazing Spider-Man, we finally at least got the costume right. So I was really excited to see that. But now that we're looking at, like, a 16-year-old Spider-Man who's, like, deeply seated in high school, who could be anyone, probably from the Divergent movie series, I'm kind of like, oh, okay.
Well, like, the thing with Spider-Man for me is I don't want to see a Hollywood-looking Peter Parker. I want to see a fucking unattractive dude. I want to just look at him and go, oh dear, maybe better luck in the next life.
He's never been unattractive. Peter Parker has never been nebbish looking, except in, like, one panel in Ultimate Spider-Man.
I'm not saying I want a troll to play him. But I'm not saying. But Andrew
Like Steve
Garfield.
Buscemi.
But Andrew Garfield was way too fucking pretty to play Peter Parker.
It's very
He's not supposed to be drop pants, gorgeous, slippery when wet. Like
Right.
that's not supposed to be Peter Parker. He's just supposed to be there.
Well, he's supposed to be average. Like, so if he loses his mask and then he runs into a crowd, you lose him.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Well, imagine like a like a Steve Buscemi, like Crazy Eyes.
Yeah.
Like Steve
just
Buscemi.
really unattractive dude.
That's what we need. We need to have Steve Buscemi playing Spider-Man, and everybody needs to be sitting in a diner, and they need to ask him like, "Why don't you tip?" And he needs to go on like a rant about how he doesn't tip.
Yeah, because he's saving all of his money for Aunt May's like medical bills.
Yeah, or something like that.
So, yeah. But anyway, with respect to our speculation market, the Spider-Man movie looks like it's going to be same as usual. No surprises as far as the character's concerned.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I don't want to see Miles Morales.
I'd love to see Miles Morales. I think Miles Morales has a great character history. Like the entire basis behind Miles Morales. And, I
Yeah.
mean, he's like a kid that grew up in the hood, and his uncle was like a criminal that reformed himself, and so on. Like, I think that's really kind of a cool concept. Well, he kind of reformed, like he didn't really. But nonetheless, I think it'd be kind of a really cool concept for his character. Like, I think it'd be really cool to bring in that version of Miles Morales. 'Cause I think Faust is right. Like, more so than just like physical attractiveness. Like no one can identify with Peter Parker in the films. He's just like, oh hey, I'm just a kid that kind of grew up in middle America, and I'm kind of picked on at school a little bit, but not really. And like, there's nothing about that character where people are like, I've lived that same kind of life.
Right.
They're just like that guy has
You know,
the same
you
kind
need-
of life you see in like a teenage movie.
Right.
I
mean, well, it's hard to tell Spider-Man like the Peter Parker Spider-Man today, because it's a totally different world. Like if you take the 60s version, which has been the version until like, the last 20 years, you have a character who like has always been described as like a loner, an outsider, a kid who was always picked on, really overly intelligent for his age. He's bullied often, and he's prone to like having violent thoughts. If you ever read like the old Stanley Ditko book, like he is really like I think one of the first things he ever thinks in Amazing Fantasy 15 is like, I'll show them.
Yeah.
And in 1964, you're kind of like, yeah, I hope you do. But in like post 1999, you're like, that does not sound good to me.
Peter Parker's gonna shoot up a school.
Exactly. And it's so like, get that kid some counseling. You can put him in a social program, and you maybe get him classified. Like Peter Parker, as he has always been, is a very different animal, and it's hard to tell that kind of version of him honestly, which is kind of, I think, why people like Miles Morales so much, because his origin, he gets to the same place as a person and as Spider-Man, by taking a totally different road. We don't make him like a social outcast. We don't make him a downtrodden youth, tormented by his betters. We have just a kid who is poor, and he is, the victim of circumstance, and through it all, and despite his obstacles, he succeeds, and that's the basis of Spider-Man. So like, I like the Miles Morales character. I was just kind of like, all right, like, I don't know. I would have felt really gypped if I
Really?
had seen Miles Morales Spider-Man in the Avengers movies. I would be like, really? Like, we waited this long to finally get Peter Parker Spider-Man in these friggin' Marvel movies, and it's his replacement.
Well, but see, here was a kicker though. Like the Ultimate Comics were designed to be like, here's what these characters would be like if they emerged in the current day. Like that's what the Ultimate Comics were for.
Yeah.
Instead of like throwing it all the way back to like the 1960s society, it's like, okay, post 2000, what would happen if Peter Parker was bitten by a radioactive spider? Like,
Yeah.
what would happen if the Fantastic Four gained their powers in like the 90s? Like, what
Right.
would that life be like? And
Yeah.
and that was a cool thing. That's why I liked Miles Morales so much, because he came around in a time where you had a lot of younger kids who were growing up that were wanting to get into Spider-Man, and they said, "Hey guys, this is like, we're killing off Peter Parker. Here's Miles Morales. He comes from like an underprivileged neighborhood, so on and so forth, that kind of thing." But it was a reflection of kids in this day and age, as
Right.
opposed to a reflection of kids like 50 years ago.
Yeah.
which I think was a smart move. And I think that people are ready to move on to somebody besides Peter Parker. I think the biggest people, I mean, because honestly, your average moviegoers probably wouldn't care. They would just be like, "Oh, hey, cool, Spider-Man movie," and they would be like, "Who's this?" And then hopefully they would explain
Right.
it reasonably in like the first few minutes and be like, "I'm Miles Morales, like I'm a different character, different beast from Peter Parker, whatever." I think a lot of traditional Spider-Man fans would flip. They would
I
be
think
like,
that USA Today would flip. I think that the people who would spoil that on the like day before it comes out, and the people who report on it, non-comics fans, who all outnumber us, by the way. Like the average reader of your average crappy newspaper and your average non-comics reader, they outnumber us, but also know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. The other problem is you have to tell his origin again, which nobody wants to do.
Well,
Nobody has time or patience for a friggin' origin, especially for Spider-Man.
And the weird thing about like non-comics fans is like the three most recognizable characters in the world are Spider-Man, Batman, and Superman.
Yes.
But for all of them, the recognizable thing is not what people think is recognizable. For Spider-Man, I know for a fact over here, if you were to say Spider-Man, people don't actually think about Peter Parker. They just think about Spider-Man.
The image, right?
yeah.
So that's why I always thought, okay, they could get away with Andy Franklin or Miles Morales. And like in the case of Superman, people don't think about the S on his chest. They think about the red briefs, which is why DC need to bring back the briefs.
You know, I never really thought that the character. Now we're switching gears, talking about the Superman costume a little bit, and that's fair. I think we've beaten the Spider-Man concept to
We
death.
really
Number one, I hate that Superman costume. Number two, I never would have expected those trunks to be so important, but they really do break up the suit. Because otherwise it just looks like, I don't know. I mean, I know that they used to be wrestling trunks. Like they were based off like the classic 30s strongman, and that's where the implication came from. I know that like Green Lantern doesn't have the trunks and never did, but they work for him. I never assumed, I never expected like get rid of the trunks and Superman just looks like he's in his underwear, but he does. Like it just looks really weird to me.
Yeah.
Now, it could be just because he's so ingrained in my brain and for so many of people like me or us who agree that it looks really weird, that it's like so ingrained in the collective unconscious that we're like, something is wrong with Superman's costume. Where did his red underwear go? But I think design and aesthetically, like, no, it breaks up the color. Otherwise, just blue and a white guy.
But then, like, even for the Supergirl costume that they recently released, they used the same color palette as the Superman costume, and I think it's the color palette. It's way too dark.
It is very dark. It reminded me of the Brandon Routh Superman color palette, where it's like it's perfect, and then they turn the contrast up, like just a little.
And like, my issue with that Supergirl costume is it's so boring. If you're gonna do Supergirl, make her look like fucking Sailor Moon. Just do that.
Go all the way. Go full tilt.
Go ham, because no one's going to take Supergirl seriously anyway. Let's face it.
Well, I give that series maybe a season, maybe, and that's I don't know anything because I really expected Flash to fail, but I was right about Constantine.
Well,
I will say this: kudos to the Supergirl costume. They went with classic '80s comic book Superman logo,
That's true.
which is really cool. Like, it looks, and it's not some weird, obnoxious variant. Because if you look at every Superman S in every movie, in every TV incarnation, the S is just a little bit different. Like, it's almost there. And if you're checking your blind spot, it looks just like it. But if you look at it hard enough, you're like, something a little off about that. But the one that she's wearing, I was like, that is 1980, like 4 to 2000 Superman S. And I was like, that's kind of cool. But the palette is really dark. So it's kind of bizarre.
You know, eventually they're going to get that symbol so wrong. It's just going to be an upside-down triangle with S and Comic Sans in it.
Oh, definitely. Oh, I mean, that's... yeah, give it another, like, 15 years, and that's where it's going. I mean, like, yeah. I mean, the first S was just pretty much a triangle with an S in it. And then eventually they were like, let's blend the S. Like, the people got really creative with it. This is neat.
See, here's a problem that I had with Superman's outfit before with the red underwear. All right, Superman is wearing a utility belt, or wearing a belt, for red
Yeah.
underwear. Like he's wearing a belt to hold up his underwear. Like to me, the costume looks silly. Like
The old costume?
Yeah, the old
The
costume.
classic costume?
Yeah, well, it may be a classic, but it doesn't mean that it's not antiquated. And it was time, I think, to let that go. It was time to say, okay, like, let's move things in a different direction. And let's go ahead and just change Superman's costume because honestly, it looked goofy. I mean,
You know what? That's actually a good point, Rob. You know what they should do? You know, his powers are pretty antiquated too. I mean, flight, invulnerability, he can see through walls. We've seen all that before. Practically every member of the Justice League has that power. Why don't we give him some new powers? Take this for example. What if we made him electric? Right? Just blue skin.
I know exactly where you're going. You're talking about that
and
after
his
the death of
suit
Superman.
can
stuff.
like retain his powers because he's like a battery and he's just gonna explode. So he needs to wear a power suit, and the S can be like a lightning bolt. How about that? Or how about he splits into different colors?
There's a huge difference between removing a superhero wearing underwear on the outside of his pants and changing the entire makeup of his character. Superman is not
yes, there
defined
is.
by his underwear.
There
That's
is a
the- that's
difference.
the- That's not the defining attribute.
No, but
of
the underwear is a
Superman.
metaphor.
No, but like, here's the thing. For non-comic book readers, Superman is defined by the underwear. The underwear is more recognizable as Superman than the fucking S.
No, I think the S is more
disagree with that,
recognizable.
although that might be a regional thing.
I don't know.
It's probably a regional thing.
Or
There's
maybe it's just a Faustian thing. But I will say,
probably a regional thing, but there's more people outside the US than inside the US, I'd like to
Fair.
I
remind
mean,
you of.
if
Fair
I
enough. Although-
walked around the world with Superman's S, like his logo,
yeah,
if I
or
took
his
that,
taunts.
and I took that, I took like a picture of that and a picture of red underwear, and I said, who do these belong to?
Yeah. Ooh.
Red
They'd know
underwear.
right off the bat who the symbol belongs to, and they'd be like, I guess maybe it's Superman. I don't, but they would associate the underwear with Superman because I'm holding a logo of Superman.
Right.
Like
If you
that. I
did
think
red
is the
underwear
difference.
over blue tights, I know pretty much everyone over here that's old enough to know Superman would go Superman's tights. That's it. And like when you say Superman, people talk about the red underwear on blue tights here. Like that is just a thing. Whenever I talk to non-comic book readers about Superman, that is one of the first things they talk about. So
You know, I do remember when they got rid of them. I remember hearing a lot of non-comics readers mentioning it. I don't know if they said it was the defining attribute, but I remember them being like, "Got rid of the underwear." But kind of, I took it as more of a condescending like jab at us, like, "Oh, they got rid of his out of the underwear. What are we gonna make fun of him for now?" Like that was kind of the tone that I got about it. But you know, whatever. They are changing it again, as I noticed. I think that they're going back to Action Comics Superman outfit, where he's going to be wearing like jeans and carpenter boots.
Which I don't. I
Here's
don't
my
know.
question about that, because it was based off of Grant Morrison's idea of like, hey, we're going to do Superman, but he's going to be like an every guy, and he'll wear a Superman T-shirt. If Superman first appeared wearing that, what is the shirt like emulating? Like, whose S is that on the T-shirt that like Clark keeps getting?
he just gets fabric paint and he's very bored and he's
I don't
like,
think so. I think he buys those shirts at like, you know, the mall. Because it's the same. It's my same problem with I'm not going to go into it, but I will say in Man of Steel, there's a moment where young Clark takes a red towel and he wraps it around his neck and he strikes the pose when the sun is like glaring over him, and it's a brilliant image. Who's he emulating? What impression is he doing? Because that's Superman. There's no other character that he is like pretending to be. Either the director, who is Zack Snyder, is painfully unaware of the reference he's making, like in a metatextual way, where he's like, "Oh, he's doing the Superman pose." Yes, but he doesn't know that there is. Like kids do that because Superman exists. Superman can't do that as a kid because there's nothing before him. Or young Clark Kent just knows he's going to be a god, and he's just striking this pose like one day I will rule over all of them. And that's where the Superman pose comes from.
Well,
if
it
young
makes.
Clark Kent did that, then he's a bit of a dickhead, really, isn't he?
Well, Man of Steel, Superman is kind of a dick, isn't he?
Yeah, I was going to say that. Like he's
Yeah.
kind of like. Well, see, I went back and watched Man of Steel because we were talking about Man of Steel before, and you were
Yes.
like, "Man, like that movie sucks." Like it's
Yeah, I was
too
really like
Superman, but you're like, it sucks. And I went back and watched it, and the entire movie, he was like, I know I have this godlike power and I can pretty much do anything.
Yeah.
But I don't know what I want to do with it. But I do know I should save the world. But I don't know if I should. And I'm just going to kind of rest on my laurels and wait until a dude shows up in a ship and then starts killing people
Yeah.
and destroying cities before I step in and do anything.
Yeah. I
And it's
really like
okay.
I really there's actually there's a How I Should Have Ended. The whole thing about Man of Steel is brilliant, but the one thing I like is when he's talking to his mother and he just goes like, "Why? How am I going to stop Zod? Like, if only I could go to someone for guidance." And she's like, "You mean like a random priest?" And he's like, "No, not a random priest. That would be weird. No, someone who knew Zod personally." "Oh yeah, my space dad." And then he goes to the spaceship and he's like, "Hey dad, who's Zod?" And then his dad just brings him up to speed about everything that Zod is. Like, yeah, that probably should have happened, but no, everyone has to be ridiculous. Okay, we're talking about Man of Steel. Moving on. So we're talking about speculation. We're talking about the things that we were speculating about. This is kind of in comics. I feel like this is kind of the calm before the storm, before the great convergence, and before the battle world emerges. Because nothing is really coming out that we're kind of like, oh, that's kind of cool. We should talk about that.
I feel so sorry for comic book resources and Newsrama right now.
No,
Oh,
have you looked
God.
at the articles? They're just very like, hey, did you know? Wait, hang on. Let me look that up really quick because it's really funny. I was reading them this morning and I'm like, this is all you got today, huh?
Yeah. That's kind of that's why I feel bad
It-
because there's like nothing out there. It's like it's been like this 3-month lull period.
Oh yeah.
Like
There's been nothing since December, and like that makes things difficult for me because I have a news day, and at the moment I'm just like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do?
Yeah.
so like some stuff's happening and like
Like a big, you know what's one that they can't let go of is like X-Files is getting a new season. We're not going to talk about X-Files. I just wanted to say like every other day they're like, "Hey, X-Files." I'm like, "Yeah, I know.
yeah.
I heard
But
all about it."
That's what it feels like with their comic news. It feels like they're constantly saying like, "Hey guys, in case you forgot, like Marvel and DC are rebooting their continuities."
Right. Hey, did you know that's happening? Like real soon though. We're going to have some news real soon.
I'm like, really?
Like, great. Let me know when that happens. I'll be asleep. They did release a new Fantastic Four poster, which was a still from the trailer.
Yeah.
Like this is the news we have. Oh, and it says like change is coming. I'm like, no crap. Like,
Well, okay. So we were talking about that before we started the whole podcast. And I think, like I told Sal, I think that's the negative zone. And it makes perfect sense because as far as I understand it, like they're drawing on the Ultimate Fantastic Four continuity to launch the film. And I
yeah,
don't
well, at
know-
least the fact that like they're young.
Yeah. Well, but see, remember, like the negative zone was like prominent in terms of how they gain their powers. So we're like, hey, here's a
Right.
portal, and they're like, bam, negative zone, back to reality, and they're like, oh my god, we got all our powers, and that's just kind of it.
It's a lot easier to do than like having them like go into space and encounter cosmic rays and have those like because when you think about it, like how do cosmic rays make one person a rock monster and one person like stretchy?
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
Oh,
Comic
okay.
book logic.
Yes, let's hear it.
That's how, just comic book logic.
Right, because
Comic book
yeah,
logic.
but I think that like we saw, I mean, like as much as those other movies, those other Fantastic Four movies, all three of them are so terrible. Like Tim's story kind of highlights the fundamental flaw with showing a modern version of classic Fantastic Four. Like, let's get all of them on a because they had to get them all on a spaceship and have them get bombarded by cosmic rays. But in today's world, where they'd be able to see them coming from like years ago, like from years from now, like, hey, we better not like go there because I can actually see when cosmic rays are coming. Like, just yeah, there's an inherent issue with the classic '60s origin of cosmic rays, which Stan Lee clearly didn't know what they were.
But that could easily be fixed if they just renamed them and called them Galactus waves or
Well,
something
see,
like that.
that was my question. Like when the movie came out, and they said, okay, guys, like we're gonna base this on cosmic rays. I'm like, so is Galactus like sitting on the other side of the universe, and he's just like cosmic rays, and it's like
Right.
like sends them flying out, and it's like,
They're actual cosmic rays. Not his. They're not his
Yeah,
rays. Not
yeah.
like he burps after eating a planet, and those create cosmic rays. Although that would be brilliant if they did that.
that'd be hilarious.
I'm surprised Hickman hasn't done that yet. But
Galactus
I guess-
burp.
yeah.
I
Also,
guess-
another thing, what is with needing to have Doctor Doom have superpowers? Why can't he just be Iron Man? Like,
I
why
don't
can't he
know.
just be smart and make a really cool suit?
Faust didn't know.
I sort of was going to go, yeah, but if you look at Children's Crusade, where he had powers for like, and then I remembered it was like he used them for like one page and then almost killed himself, and was like,
well, he does it every time he gets nigh omnipotent powers. When he like captures the Silver Surfer and siphons his powers, or when he goes to the medieval times and talks to Morgan Le Fay and gets powers via magic, or when he absorbed the powers of the Scarlet Witch, like. Or when he took the Beyonder's powers, like first of all he tries to fix his face, and then second of all he tries to take over the world.
Yes, he did. Like, but see, it was funny. It was funny in Secret Wars because he's like, now I have the powers of the Beyonder, and I can do pretty much anything, and I'm second to only the One Above All, and I'm probably better than him. And so he's like, I'm just going to like chillax.
Well, no,
of the time on Battle World.
He couldn't chillax because the power would run amok. He had to be ever vigilant and stay awake.
No. But I mean, like, if you go back and, like, after he gained his powers, like, if you go back and read Secret Wars, like, he's just chilling inside of his, like, Doom, the Doom Fortress.
Doom Base.
Yeah, Doom Base, whatever they call it. Like, he's just chilling in there. And, like, Ulysses Claw is like, oh my god, like, you know, be careful with your powers, all that kind of stuff. And the Beyonder's like, you know what, like, I'm going to take over the body of Ulysses Claw and get my powers back. Yeah, which he does. And it was kind of silly, but no, I think you're right on that. Like, I think having a character who's just so incredibly smart that he can basically, like, outmaneuver even Reed Richards with his intelligence and his powers at every turn, I think would be awesome.
And that's in and of itself a comic book movie trope. That being your villain or your antagonist is a person who has power envy, which sucks, but that's where we are. Like, a character who's like, I want to have powers, and those people do, but I can't have them, so I'll invent powers using my vast intelligence and technology skills, and then be a bad guy. And it's like, how anti-Batman of them. Like, that was... Did you guys ever see Sky High?
Oh, yeah.
I like Sky High. Let me tell you why. That movie's not horrible, and it does a very Galaxy Quest job of sending up the superhero genre while also cementing it in a pretty decent story, and especially decent if you're looking at it as like a movie for kids, 12 and up. Like, I think that's a fun flick, but it went in, for me, the wrong direction, because there's a moment where the main character, because you got Superman and Wonder Woman. I don't remember the other characters' names. Who cares? They got Superman and Wonder Woman, and they have a kid, and the kid has no powers. And he's reached the age where he's supposed to have powers, but the powers haven't come out yet, and everyone's really bummed out. Right? Like, that's, Superman and Wonder Woman have a kid, and he's going to superhero school, where all the other superheroes' kids go to school, which is in the clouds or something. And you have this character who's likable and fun and cool, and he has friends across the aisle. He's got friends who are sidekick material, and he's got friends who are superhero material, and he has no powers, and Superman and Wonder Woman are really bummed out about it, and so they put him into Sidekick Academy, into the crappy electives with the other sidekicks who have no powers or lame powers, and then he manifests Superman powers. And then he learns that being popular and having powers is great. Like, that's
the whole basis of the story?
More or less, that's it. And I mean, no, it's a really, no, he learns a lesson, and he actually learns, there's no hierarchy of powers, and everyone is useful. But what he could have done was study hard and invent power. I thought he was going to suddenly have, because what happens was he manifests powers, and it's like he has all of them. He has flight, and he has or not flight, but he has super strength and whatever. It seemed a little too good to be true, and so I thought he and the sidekicks invented the powers, worked together. They were we got this thing that we were going to use, but no one would have believed that we had these powers, so we had no person to use it as our vessel, and then they would give him this super suit that would give him powers, and then he'll become popular, and then he'll let them become popular, and then of course it would blow up in their faces, and everyone would learn a lesson about being jerks, about that doesn't matter. There's no such thing as being super powerful. It's just about being a good person or something. Who
so
cares?
What you're describing is Mean Girls.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Mean Girls with superpowers. That's what I thought it was going to be, where the kid teaches the superheroes that the real superpower is your brain. But no, your real superpower is your ability to fly and have superpowers.
Well, then they couldn't have done that right from the start, because I remember this movie weirdly vividly.
That's exactly.
But they couldn't have done that because his neighbor, she was in the psychic class because she refused to use her powers for fighting.
Yeah.
And she had the ability to make plants grow as high and as strong as she wanted.
Yes.
So she already had an amazing power. And so the power couldn't have been from the brain right from the start. So unless they got rid of her, which means they would have had to get rid of love interest number 2.
Yeah.
And that would have never happened.
No, exactly.
Well,
but yeah, that was my point. It was just that was an opportunity for them to use to turn the soon to be powerless villain, the power envy villain trope on its ear, but no.
Or they could have turned him into the power envy villain.
Yeah, that would have been cool too. But no, we have everyone's syndrome, where yeah.
I hate the power envy villain trope just because it makes me think of Eddie Brock, and just who the fuck is jealous of Peter Parker?
Well, you know what? I can imagine looking on the outside. Dan Slott actually perfectly encapsulates it in a Spider-Man Human Torch miniseries, where Human Torch is I looked at your life, your Peter Parker life, where you have women fighting, tripping over themselves to be with you. All of them are 10s, and you get to go to school, and you've got a family who loves you, and you have you're a famous photographer. I just wanted that. And Peter Parker's are you out of your mind? My girlfriend was killed on a bridge by an asshole in a purse.
Well,
my life is not great.
But see, that to me is the big kicker. I think that the problem that they have when they make these films is they think, okay, here's superpowered characters. We need to have someone who's as powerful as they are or more powerful. That way it's oh yeah, they overcame, almost insurmountable odds or something like that. Not at all. I think the fact that they could make a character like Doom who would be as intelligent as he is, who's just look, yes, my mother was a sorceress basically, and I inherited some of her abilities, but pretty much everything I have now, everything I know, is because I worked hard to get it. And that I think would make him a far better character.
Definitely.
Because you could do so much character development with that. But the problem is they're Fantastic Four and Doom, so we'll just have him troll the internet and then fight the Fantastic Four. And that's
and he'll get superpowers too, where he shoots electricity or something.
Yeah, and that's dumb. I think it takes away from how effective and how awesome his character could be, and instead we just get this watered down piece of nonsense. But
yeah,
I don't know. So anyway, getting into the speculation now, after we're what, 30 minutes into this thing?
Yeah, after I finished talking about Sky High, sorry.
Okay, so getting into Secret Wars. One of the things we talked about before we started the podcast here was the whole Hail Hydra event. And the whole Hail Hydra story, I think, is going to be really, really cool because for those of you guys who are unaware, Hail Hydra is going to be one of the one of the titles during Secret Wars, and hopefully it'll last after Secret Wars, where we will see what the world looks like if Hydra had taken over, formed the United States long before the presidents even came together to form it. I'm assuming it takes place sometime during, pre or during the American Revolution, but the fact remains that...
I didn't know that. I thought it was just that what if Hydra had won?
No. Well, that's they're saying that it back when you had the Age of Freemasons and all that kind of stuff.
Oh,
what if they were Hydra based? And so, once the United States won its war or whatever the case may be, it became a Hydra territory. And from there, Hydra just spread outward into the world so that you have a world that is ran and governed by Hydra. And what was really cool about this is it struck me, and it seemed very similar to the Philadelphia experiment. Did you guys ever see that? You guys ever see the Sal's not paying a bit of attention.
I'm paying attention. I didn't catch the title you said.
The Philadelphia experiment.
No, I don't know anything about that.
Okay, so the Philadelphia experiment was actually a couple movies, but it was based off this supposed story about how the government was experimenting with invisibility, how to make ships invisible. And in the film, they made a ship invisible, but they accidentally sent it back in time.
Okay.
And so yeah, you had this guy named Herdegg. I can't remember what his that was like Paul Herdegg or something like that. I can't remember what his name is. But part two deals with what would have happened if a Nazi scientist gained this technology and then sent like a futuristic fighter jet into the past in World War II, and the Nazi Party won World War II. And so like
Right.
the United States is a Nazi territory, and it was this really 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 cool concept. But that really kind of struck me as that same thing. But my question is, what kind of world would you have with Hydra running it? Because the only character that we know of that was part of Hydra and then defected and joined the superheroes was Jessica Drew with Spider-Girl.
Oh.
Like she was a Hydra spy at one point
Yes.
in time, and then then she became like Nick Fury like turned her against Hydra basically, and then she became part
Became
of
like
the
a
Avengers.
quadruple agent or something.
Yeah,
Wasn't-
something stupid.
Didn't she start her life with with Hydra because she was knocked out when she was like 6 years old, and then woke up and Hydra were looking after her, and then
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
eventually rejoined them for a little bit. Jessica Drew's a weird character.
She
Yeah.
is like she was part of the Hand for a while, which
Yep.
like
It's
had
hard to-
Hydra at some point, and then like see that's all right. That's the weird thing about Hydra. Like at some point along the line, you had Hydra like way back in the past, and then it just kind of fizzled, and then you had the Hand, which rebooted Hydra, and then that kind of went away, and then Baron von Strucker was like, okay, Hydra, and like that's where Hydra runs up until now. And that was so like pretty much the only thing that anybody ever needs to care about when it comes to Hydra is like everything after Baron von Strucker. Like that's the only thing that really matters. But nonetheless, like she was part of the Hand for a while. But it'd be a really cool concept because right now, I mean, you don't really have that. Like you have Hydra constantly bumping heads, but to see like darker superheroes. And the question
Oh
is,
yeah, like Hydra versions of your
Yes.
Marvel characters.
yeah, like Hydra Captain America and Hydra Iron Man. My question would be, who would they fight against? I mean, you'd have to have some kind of like resistance movement, I guess.
Well, we've seen the front cover of the first issue, which includes Captain America's son,
Yeah, and like they were standing, and
and he's the only one. He's the only, like he's dressed as Captain America. He's got like the shield and everything. I'm guessing it'll be something like he comes out of the dimension that he came from originally, and like he's like, this is wrong. Like this isn't right, and then he fights it, or I don't know. It'll be interesting. I can't even imagine what they're gonna do with it.
Looking like from the front cover, there are like spotlights looking everywhere, and I'm looking at
Right.
the cover right now. So it could be like a North Korea kind of situation where everyone's just kind of sectioned off from each other.
Yeah.
And Hydra's sort of manipulating people culturally. I don't know.
That's true. I can imagine like that being. Yeah, you could have. Yeah, I mean, it feels like it's going to be one of those stories like any of the alternate reality Marvel books, like Spider-Man Noir or something, where it's like you got these characters and they live in their own different places, and it's just all under the same umbrella of this premise. So you're going to have like a young Hydra Spider-Man character who's like parents. You know what I mean? It'd be like a DC Elseworlds book, like Superman Red Sun, where you got like where Batman's parents were anti-Superman radicalists, and
they were killed.
I'd see that as being kind of what they're gonna do.
Yeah. I don't know. See that, and that to me is really kind of the cool thing, because my question is like, how far are they going to go with this? Because we know what they're going to have like during Secret Wars. My question is coming after Secret Wars, like, are they going to? Because you can't have the same thing like forever. They got to introduce new stuff. And what I'm hoping is they draw on some of the interesting elements. Like, for example, I think it was part of an Age of Ultron What If series. There was like a 5-part series called Age of Ultron
Yes.
What If. Well,
That was
there's-
awful.
yeah, they were a lot of them were really really bad, but the one that I thought was kind of interesting was the one with the Punisher as Captain America, where at least I think that was it, where they
Yes.
I don't know, maybe it was that one. I don't remember if it was that one or if it was.
There's
a
an
different-
old What If where he was Captain America, which was fun.
Well, see, this one was like a relatively new one. It was somewhere along
Yeah.
the line Captain America got killed. And I don't remember if it was part of Age of Ultron or a different story, but what they do is they say, like, America needs, like, the country needs a Captain America.
Right.
And, like, they don't know Steve Rogers is dead. Like, all they know is that he's just not there. And so they were like, we need someone to stand in his place. And so they were like, you, Frank Castle, are like the best person to do it. Why? I don't know. But they're like,
Because that's what we want to see. We want
yeah,
to just,
that's exactly. So they're
Yeah,
just like
'cause that'd be
reasons, like here's reasons, and then they,
Right.
like you have Frank Castle play Captain America, and he's really really brutal about it. He's actually begrudging when he does it initially, but then he grows into it, and then after
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that you end up with like this army of Captain Americas. They call it like the Captain America Corps, which is kind of whatever, but nonetheless, like it was a cool concept for the time. And
Yeah.
I would like to see a Captain America core of some kind, although obviously not stemming from like a stupid basis on Frank Castle being Captain America. But I think that in some capacity they're gonna have to find some way to keep things relatively interesting after Secret Wars, because going forward, I mean, how many of those stories do we have? Could they really keep? Like, I don't see Killcraven selling.
No,
Like, that's not gonna last. I don't-
Most of those titles, I think they're looking at as kind of like a number one. They're like Spider Gwen sold like gangbusters. I guess we can try anything and see if it works. But also, I think they were kind of like, yeah, we're gonna try it out, but I don't think it's gonna like. I don't think they're planning on most of them having like a long run. Like they were announcing how they were like, we canceled 33 titles. Yeah, but you're also gonna then come out with 23 titles, and you've canceled like the lowest selling books that were canceled. Like
Yeah.
it's not going to be like they're just going to bring back everything that's in the main stable. They're just going to new 52 it, or they're just going to throw out a whole bunch of titles, and then if one of them sells like gangbusters that you didn't expect, they'll just keep it going. It's just a pilot program.
Yeah.
So
Just-
if Hydra World works, we'll see a Hydra World mini series, because there's no way everyone who reads Marvel is going to read a Hydra World or whatever they're calling it, Hail Hydra or something like that, Hydra series for more than 13 issues.
Yeah.
So, you're going to have a cool trade of that. Like 1602, awesome idea. It's cool that we're going to go back to that universe. We've seen 1602 sequelized, and it didn't do nearly as well. Maybe because Gaiman wasn't writing it, or maybe because 1602 works in this amount of story, and then that's all you can really do with it. But we'll see. But even then, like, I don't think 1602 is going to last more than 13 issues. But Avengers might. I don't know. I feel like it's all just a pilot program, and we're just going to see what sells and what doesn't.
Well,
I think,
that's-
like, especially at Marvel, unless it's got Avengers or X-Men in the title, it's just so hard to sell it.
Oh yeah.
Well,
And-
yeah, that's because you have like, I mean, the popularity of the Marvel comics, at least now, are based on the films. Like, that's what draws people in. Like, longtime readers already have their mainstays. Like, people who've been reading comics for like us for a lengthy amount of time. Like, we already know who our favorites are. We're like,
Right.
okay, like, we're gonna read these characters, and we're not really gonna branch out to anybody else because we didn't like them before. Why would we like them now?
Well, and there's people out there who are like who have their characters who have a flash in the pan lifespan, where like there are people who really, really, really want to see a Cloak and Dagger series come back, and like
Cloak and Dagger.
maybe once in a while they get one. Like, there are Deathlock fans, there's Iron Fist fans, and I don't mean Iron Fist is on the same level as friggin' Deathlock, but Iron Fist can't sustain a main like a maxi or an ongoing series. It's not to say that it's not a great character, and like the miniseries people love, or the series that have been canceled have been beloved and really great. Hawkeye, another great book that they felt they needed to reboot because I guess sales were slumping. That's Matt Fraction's Hawkeye, or Fraction just left the book. I don't know which one is which, but yeah.
I mean, the interesting thing about the Iron Fist situation is they've got the TV show coming out,
Yes.
or the Netflix show.
Yeah, Netflix show.
So I think, like, once that comes out, looking at the popularity of stuff like Orange is the New Black, and everyone loves anything that's made by Netflix
That's
these days.
true.
Yeah.
I think going off of that popularity, that might just redefine how we see Iron Fist. And it's like,
It's true, and hopefully Marvel is smart about rolling out their trades properly, because I remember when Guardians of the Galaxy was coming out, there were no Guardians trades in print. Like, they had to reprint. Like, there were no Guardians trades being printed at that time, except for Bendis's The Space Avengers Volume 1.
though I have to say that kind of helped me because no one could really get into Guardians
Oh,
at
no.
the time. So my
It-
history of Guardians of the Galaxy leading up to the movie coming out got a lot of views. And I was
Yes.
really happy about that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's.
Oh
but
yeah,
see-
no, yeah, we all kind of jumped on the back, the back of that.
Oh yeah, but so here's the thing: if Marvel was smart, and I'm hoping they choose to do this, Marvel's best bet with regards to like Luke Cage and Jessica Jones and Iron Fist and well, not really Daredevil because he's already such a big name, but their
Well,
best
is
bet.
he like his title's selling well, but is it a top title? I don't think so.
No. But enough people know who Daredevil is that they're going to say, okay, if Daredevil's getting his own TV show, like, okay, then I'll check out the others and see how those do. Like,
Right.
Daredevil
I'll
will
tell you.
bring people in.
There were people I knew people who never heard of Daredevil.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know anybody who hasn't heard of Daredevil.
I do know people who've never heard of him ever. There was
I know
like
lots of
when
people
when
that
the
have
first
never heard
movie
of him.
came out, and like granted that was 12 years ago, but when the first Daredevil movie came out, a good friend of mine who was significantly older than me, so he had longer to know about Daredevil, who's also a nerd, like Star Wars, Star Trek, Dukes of Hazzard, plugged into the zeitgeist, so he had had access. He goes, are they really that desperate for superheroes? They're now going to start making like the blind superhero. Who's Daredevil? What a stupid. He assumed that because of the Spider-Man movie, studios were just making up characters.
Really?
That Daredevil had been created by the studio to appeal to like bleeding heart liberals. I was like,
No, sir.
Daredevil came out. Like, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
Can't like
Daredevil came out within years of Spider-Man.
Like
within
Daredevil
a
is like-
handful of years.
Yeah, so trust me, never underestimate the populace to not know what the hell we're talking about.
I guess, man, but see, like, if what I think that they should do, and if what they're going to do is try to boost sales for Daredevil, or especially if they're going to try to like introduce stories that revolve around Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, or even the Defenders, they
Yeah.
should start off by releasing companion comics.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
say like, here's the companions to what's going on in the Netflix series, which they're really good at doing that. They're really good at doing that with like the Marvel Cinematic Universe films. Some of
Yeah.
those companion stories are really good, like the ones that tie into Captain America, that give you his backstory before he became Captain America, back when Steve Rogers was a kid. Those are
Yeah.
really cool stories. But if they can make companion comics that are interesting, then I think that will kind of go towards boosting things up for Daredevil sales and actually bring people in, like attract
Right.
readers and, or I guess prospective readers into a Luke Cage. But see, I think you're kind of right about Iron Fist, because Iron Fist could barely hold his own comic when it was him and Luke Cage and Heroes for Hire. People were just kind of like, well, I mean, it's whatever. Like, people didn't really get into that too much, and we saw that, of course, when
They were just kind of piggybacking on the. If you're talking about the '70s, like that era of like niche movies.
yeah.
So yeah,
of movies that were in Chinese, and then they dubbed them in English, so it'll be like, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah,
exactly.
they were pretty pitiful. But
Oh, go ahead.
no, it's fine.
Oh, I was gonna say, can we talk about the all new, all different Avengers?
Yeah.
Yes.
If you guys are not familiar, one of the titles they're rolling out after Battle World or during Battle World or whenever the hell it takes place is the all new, all different Avengers. This is for my money, I think it's the only Avengers title.
Yeah, it probably is. I mean, I haven't heard of any other titles being announced that are supposed to
I know
take
that
place with
the
Avengers.
A Next, which, if we can just take a moment, is a terrible title.
Yes.
Where they're like, it's an all-female Avengers title, which we won't. It's the only Avengers title that we have never called Avengers.
Yeah.
Like, we've had books that have nothing to do, like Illuminati, that like New Avengers Illuminati was a miniseries. They're not Avengers, like, but an all-female team, we will not call. We'll imply it with the logo. We won't actually call it Avengers, which is stupid. But neat idea, I guess. Terrible title, but A Next is one of the Avengers teams, and the all new, all different Avengers seems to be their main title. It's certainly going to be their flagship book that they're releasing on Free Comic Book Day, which is on the first Saturday in May, which everyone should go to because support your local comic book stores.
Man, let me tell you something. I don't.
So
I don't know
if-
how I feel about an all new, all different Avengers. Not really just because of what the lineup seems to be, but because the characters that they've introduced so far are characters that I just don't really care about. Okay, here's a really good example. So when Thor #1 came out, Thor
This
#1,
is female Thor number
the
one.
female Thor #1
Right.
came out. Female Thor sold like 120,000 copies. All right.
Okay.
Within the second issue,
Oh,
it
yeah.
dropped by about 40%. Like, now there's always a drop off between the initial intro, between issue #1 and issue #2.
What was speculation? Yes.
Yes, well, because the question was, what's going to happen in issue #1 that's going to make me want to read issue #2?
Yeah.
All right, and in issue number 1, everybody wanted to know the question, who's this new female version of Thor? They didn't tell anybody, and the story wasn't even that important. It was just like, well, Thor can't lift his hammer. And then at the very end of it all, they're like, well, Thor can't lift his hammer, frost giants are coming back, oh my god, what are we going to do? And then somebody's like, there should always has to be a Thor, and she picks up Thor's hammer, done and done.
Right.
It was not that, they really screwed the pooch with issue number 1 of Thor. Like, they should have put a lot more in there, should have been a lot more important. In truth, it probably should have been like a giant size issue, but nonetheless, like, the fact is that they just kind of, at least I felt like they kind of screwed it up. But in any event, there was a 40% drop off between like issue number 1 and issue number 2. Now, when you compare that to like All New Captain America had a 58% drop off between issue number 1 and issue number 2. People didn't care. No one cared about the all-new Captain America. There were a handful of people maybe, and that was it. So I don't understand why they're choosing all-new Thor, especially when they're launching the Thor Corps. If they're going to launch the Thor Corps, it would make perfect sense to me to put the all-new Thor in there to give us the identity of this all-new Thor. I mean, I don't know why they would throw her in an Avengers title unless she's going to be in both.
She's in both, yeah.
But I'm not really sure. And somebody made a good point. Yeah, the current Thor, the female Thor, is outselling the Thor Odin's son.
Yeah, there's a Reddit post. Somebody made a comparison chart where they were like, well, Thor God of Thunder sold this many, and Thor number 1 sold this many, and if you look at the graphs, like, you'll see that, you know, God of Thunder was a better title or something. You're like, all right. Like,
yeah, okay. Well, let's also
just
keep
start
in mind,
talking about
like,
sales and like stuff. Like, let's, you know.
but see, this version of Thor is also, 1, new, so it's going to do better, and 2, hasn't been around for like 50 years. And so people were ready for a change. This is the change they got. We'll see what happens when the series continues on. But nonetheless, I don't think it was the best decision. But regardless, the lineup they revealed so far with Kamala Khan and with the new Thor, I haven't read anything by Kamala Khan.
Right.
Like, nothing. And I have no desire to.
That's bizarre. Okay, well, first, before Faust is a coronary, and I think you should take the floor after this. But if you guys are not familiar with what we're talking about, you should Google the all new, all different Avengers. You'll get a cover page that has most of the characters silhouetted. The 2 that they've revealed are female Thor and Kamala Khan, Ms. Marvel. And it looks like they're fighting Radioactive Man. And not the one from The Simpsons, but the one from Marvel. So we also have these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters. One of them is obviously Miles Morales, Spider-Man, who are going to be the all new, all different Avengers. And it's been speculated that they're all characters who've never been Avengers before.
Oh,
and that makes sense.
Oh, that blows my theory out the water. I was like,
but maybe, maybe if some of them are ultimate versions, like, it doesn't count. But Faust, go for it. You were gonna, because Rob's never read Ms. Marvel at all. I've read 3 issues of Ms. Marvel and was not thrilled. Then kind of was turned around by it. I kind of dig the character more than I liked the book, which is funny. Like, I like seeing her interact. I like her personality. I just wasn't interested in her universe at that point. But
so I love Kamala to pieces. She's one of my favorite. Ms. Marvel's one of my favorite books that comes out every month. Hold on 1 second.
Sure. So with respect to these, oh, there we go.
Oh, okay.
It's called vamping. For all people who are not down with theater lingo.
Okay, it was my cat. Or something pushing against my door, and it was a cat.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I love Kamala to pieces, so I'm excited to see her branch out, do other things, because she had that thing with Wolverine, and then nothing. It's interesting to see her interact with other characters, but I was looking at like this silhouette, and for a second I was like, that top right-hand corner kind of looks like Wiccan's silhouette from the second run of the Young Avengers. Is Wiccan going to be in this? And then no Avengers. But the Young Avengers were never considered official Avengers.
Mm-mm.
So I don't know if that counts.
I don't know. What was it in Children's Crusade? They made a statue for a few characters that fell in.
Well, they made it for Cassie, but she was in the Secret Avengers, or whatever it was called.
But she was a Young Avenger too.
She was a Young Avenger, but then she was also a full-fledged Avenger while she was a Young Avenger.
Oh, okay.
But like Wiccan and Speed.
It wasn't.
And then Hawkeye, she was never a full-fledged Avenger.
Yeah.
So.
Which is time for Kate Bishop to be on. Like, I'm disappointed she's not on this team.
Yeah, oh, well, she could be. I mean,
Well,
unless she can fly.
can we look at this and just kind of play with these silhouettes? Because like, it's that can be kind of fun in its own right. Because damn, it's ridiculous. Because I mean, like you can tell the top right. I feel like that's a cape. Like it looks like it's a Sentry-esque character.
Yeah, a hood maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I
Oh,
feel
I'm
like
sorry, go
definitely it's Captain Sam America or Captain Falcon in the middle there.
you think so?
Oh yeah, it's got a wing. He's got wings. It looks like that could be a shield on his left,
Oh yeah, unless like
yeah, that's
or
true.
it's a repulsor blast from the obviously Iron Man character on the left.
yeah,
Well,
I was gonna say that.
See, I don't think that's well. Maybe that. Well, see, I wasn't sure. Like, actually, I think it'd be funny if that was Star Lord. I mean, obviously, the kid down at the bottom, the one at the bottom left hand corner, right hand corner, is Sam Alexander.
Oh yeah, that's Nova, no question.
Yeah, and then see the one. So you have. All right, so you're talking about the Captain America character. You're talking about the one on the left hand side.
I mean the
Right.
dead center.
Yeah. That one's
the
gonna
wings.
be. Yeah, that one's gonna be all new Captain
Sam
America.
Wilson
Yeah, Sam
Captain
Wilson. The Iron Man character. You talking about that's gonna be the one on the left hand side?
on the left hand side. Yeah, that's
so-
clearly an Iron Man helmet.
The one on the right hand side, that one has me confused, but that, in some degree, because they have a cape, could very well be some spin on like the Vision. But if what you're saying is true, that like all the characters who were supposed to be in this all different Avengers, were never Avengers, well then obviously it wouldn't be Vision.
Right.
It could be the Iron Lad Vision. There was the Vision from the
Oh,
children.
Kang.
Oh,
Yeah.
Iron Lad Vision.
I did actually think that. I was like, maybe it could be him. I mean, like, and I'm right, by the way. Dead center, middle, or bottom center, that's Miles Morales Spider-Man.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know who else it would be.
I've been looking at this cover, thinking, what does this remind me of? What does this remind? It looks a lot like. I just realized it looks like a lot like the cover of the new Teen Titans.
Oh,
Like,
really?
number one. Yeah.
For me, it looks like really bad Photoshop.
Well,
It looks like they just... Because this is... They had just... I'll draw these characters separately, and then I'll just cut and paste them all into this random information. Like, yeah.
And you know how I know that like I'm probably not going to take this story seriously? Because they're fighting General Chen. Like they're fighting Radioactive Man.
Right.
I mean, I'm like, okay, like whatever. Like Radioactive Man was like part of the Thunderbolts during freaking Civil War, and I just didn't really care that much about that.
Right. Oh,
So-
no, I don't care about Radioactive Man at all.
Yeah.
no.
So I don't know.
Although,
Either-
you know what? Like, I didn't care about Absorbing Man, but I really liked... This is going back, but, like, with the New Avengers, when the New Avengers had to fight Absorbing Man, and the New Avengers were, like, Spider-Man, Wolverine, Spider-Woman, and Luke Cage, and he's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, see, here
I
was
couldn't just... No, was it Absorbing Man or was it the Wrecker? It doesn't matter. But it was
No.
it was an Avengers-level villain who was like, none of you can beat me.
and see, the whole reason for that though, and you're talking about the Absorber Man. The whole reason for that though was because they took his character seriously. Like,
Right.
They gave his character like some legitimacy in that story. Like you're talking about a man that can absorb any form, like any material,
Right.
and turn himself into it. Like why would he be anything less than one of the highest
Level
I guess
threats.
one of the highest level threats for the Avengers.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy could touch adamantium and take on adamantium form.
Oh wow,
mean-
that is exactly the same cover.
Yeah, that is the exact same cover. So I don't know if they're
That's a joke. Yeah.
If
Hold on,
it
which
might be-
are you talking about the cover you guys just posted?
Yeah,
Oh,
the new Teen
cover.
Titans cover from like the 80s.
Oh wow, are you serious?
could it be like an all teenage teen, and that's just like a shout out to it?
That's kind of cool. I like that idea. Although female Thor doesn't seem to be a teenager.
I think she's 19.
Okay.
Counts.
Depending on who she actually is, I don't have any idea.
Yeah.
That
I
is the exact same cover, and that's a little disappointing too.
Yeah.
That's just a little disappointing. I mean, looking at those two different things.
And the thing is, that is an ongoing Teen Titans cover. They do that every few years with the current team.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
it's I don't know how DC are going to feel about that.
Yeah. Well, they do like sometimes for they don't usually have an issue with cover homages or like cover like digs. There's an issue of Amazing Spider-Man where he's literally doing the Action Comics number
Okay.
one image where he's like holding the car.
Oh,
It's
really?
like- yeah.
Oh, wow.
Also, yeah, what was it? Raul Vega says Sam Wilson's not a teenager, so yeah, not even a little bit. I don't know.
But
Although we've also seen what was it the new Ultimates, the people who were like with Cloak and Dagger and Bombshell and Miles Morales. That book is freaking terrible.
Well, see, that's why I'm really worried about what happens after Secret Wars, because a lot of what we've been getting from Marvel Comics recently hasn't been that great.
That's true.
And
Now, it could be that all their attention's being diverted to this freaking event. To all of their metaphorical eggs are being placed into one rickety basket, if you will.
that may very well be true, and it could be that once Secret Wars kicks off, it'll be like some of the best storytelling that Marvel's done in years, which in truth like wouldn't be too hard to do, but nonetheless, like
Yeah, no, it's true. Like, oh wow, the best Marvel story. You mean better than Axis? How is that possible?
But no, I think that oh, I can't put links in my own comment section of my own live stream. Thank you, YouTube.
Yeah, they can't. No, just Google it.
Well, here I'll put it in the description. You guys can. Well, no.
Oh yeah, throw in the. in the
Yeah. But no, I think that this is one of the big problems that I've had. This is why I haven't read a lot of the current, like a lot of the newer stories. Some of them I have, some of them I haven't. But like all new Captain America, I got current with that. But the problem is that with Sam Wilson, the only thing I found interesting about Sam Wilson with what they did with All New Captain America is they retold his origin.
Yeah, I like that.
That was a really cool thing where they were talking about how his parents were killed and like his father was killed when he was trying to save a guy, and they were the inspiration for him becoming the person that he did. That was really cool stuff. But a lot of the other things that went on, I couldn't really identify with, and I think it was because it happened so fast that it was quite literally Captain America number 24. Steve Rogers, he was an old man. Number 25, bam, all new Captain America. I guess they kind of led into it, but none of what they did in terms of this story, like this passing of the mantle, was really like an intriguing story. Like all that happened, like this is literally all that happened. Captain America goes to Dimension Z, like Arnim Zola's dimension. He like steals Arnim Zola's son and then adopts him as his own. And then gets sent back to the regular dimension, and then he fights like Mind Bubble and then whatever the other dude's name is, and he uses his like tentacles to steal the super soldier serum. He grows old and that's it.
Right.
Like literally, that's what happens.
Yeah.
And that's why I didn't really dig it that much, because I was just kind of like, you know what, it's not very.
Well, it seemed
intriguing
really
to
kind
me.
of like an afterthought. Like they wanted to get rid of his powers, but they didn't have any plan as to what they were going to. They were like, well, we have this direction for Captain America. Like he just got out of the Z, like Dimension Z. He has this kid. Maybe we're going to do something with that. No.
See, what I would like to have seen was a book where Captain America loses his powers, goes into depression because he feels fucking useless because he's now an old man.
Yeah.
Now, then starts using something like mutant growth hormone to try and get his powers back, and then we see him go through some kind of addiction through that.
See, that would be a cool dark story, especially if it was written by like Greg Pak. That would be a cool dark story. But instead, like here's how Steve Rogers reacts to all new Captain America. One, he like pats him on the back because nobody saw that coming.
Yeah.
And then two, like he's hanging out with Sharon Carter, I think it is.
Yep.
And she was like, leave him alone and do his job. You're not Captain America anymore. And he's out fishing and he's kind of like, oh, okay. And that's it.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
it.
Well, I guess I'm retired then.
I guess I'm retired. Well, yeah.
I guess
And
I
it's-
won't be able to punch Iron Man again.
Yeah, and that's it. Now, obviously, we're gonna get Captain, and this is one of the funny things they're doing with Secret Wars. Is obviously we're gonna get a Steve Rogers Captain America back.
He's in Planet Hulk.
Yeah. Oh, well, no. Oh, is he? Hold on.
Yeah, he's riding Devil Dinosaur.
I haven't seen that cover. Like, what was?
Yeah, it's just a big buff Captain America, like Steve Rogers riding Devil Dinosaur with Hulks and stuff.
Really?
Yep.
I mean, there's.
I guess. I mean, that seems to be what it is.
Well, there's one where he's like holding a shield.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's like all the Hulk hands punching down on him. Mm-hmm. But yeah, okay, that's cool. Whatever.
That's one version of it. I mean, like, but I'm still not even clear about what the hell this is. Like, have they declared, like, what?
They
Like,
have
are they all different universes that all take place in one physical plane?
So
See
what
that
it is?
they haven't done that. Like it sounds like. Here's what it
Wait,
sounds like.
Faust can
they're
explain
doing.
it. Hang on.
Oh, okay.
So what it is? You know, like in Futurama, in one episode, they go to the edge of the universe and they look through
Yes, and they
binoculars.
look and they see the cowboy universe.
I think that's exactly what we're having.
Okay,
Oh yeah.
that's the most clear it's ever been explained to me. Thank you.
And see, like here's like with regards to I don't even know why. Like I don't know the basis for Planet Hulk. My assumption is once you have like battle or once you have what did we say that was? They had war zones. Once you have war zones where like the universes or I guess the territories start being divvied up among like all these different people, that's when I think you're gonna see the like all the Hulks who are like, well, I guess we should all just kind of like live together in like one giant territory.
Well,
Let's just call it
tutorial
like,
says it'd be cool looking.
let's call it like Planet Hulk. I mean, I don't know if that's what they're gonna do. I don't understand how all that's gonna end up together. Which I guess it'll all make sense during Secret Wars, or at least you hope it will.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe it'll make sense. I mean, I imagine like this giant migration of like Hulks, and they're like, we claim this land in the name of the Incredible Hulks, and they all just live there. Like I don't see how else it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I don't.
But that's how I imagine it, and that's my concern is the idea came to them that they said, okay, at some point along the line, like we're gonna have to change something, and they say,
Yeah.
okay, let's just like reboot the continuity because we have to find a way to like roll the Marvel Cinematic Universe into the Marvel Comic Universe, which is gonna happen.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, we got to do this also. Why don't we just like do it with everything? Let's just like reboot our continuity, and it's all new number ones, and then we'll change things up a bit, and have so on and so forth, yada yada yada. The problem is, I think they spend so much time, or they're spending so much time focusing on that it's not like, how can we do it in a way that makes sense?
Yeah.
And that's going to be my concern. But again, like I mean, it's like Brevoort said that like Secret Wars #2 is supposed to be this like mega, like 4 times normal size of a giant size issue of a comic. So it's
Yeah.
supposed to be huge in scale. And so I'm curious to see like what I mean. That's supposed to show us everything happening, how it all comes out, how
Well,
it all
look
takes
forward
place.
to
And,
getting it all freaking. You
Yeah, I
better
don't
do
know.
your due diligence there, Comics Explained, because I don't know what the hell's happening, and I want to rant about it, and that's what's gonna happen.
I'll make it all make sense. It'll probably take
hope
a couple videos to do, but I'll probably make it all make sense. I mean, it's
Good.
gonna be, that's gonna be the crazy. Like that's why. For those of you guys who are watching, that's why we're getting like all this stuff out of the way now, so that like once Secret Wars of Convergence starts, it's like we can focus only on that.
Yeah.
Then I'll finally start explaining it in 2020. 'cause-
Yay! Look forward to that.
Get around to it much later.
Yeah.
I still haven't even done anything in the New 52, and that's ending.
Really?
I can. Yeah. Yeah. I guess not. That's interesting.
Wow.
Have you been reading Batgirl?
Well, I've been reading stuff in the New 52, and I've been reading stuff that's in Marvel now. I just don't
Right,
talk
but just
about
not doing it.
it. Yeah.
Mm. Interesting.
Yep. But anyway, guys, we've been ranting on for about an hour or so, so we're gonna go ahead and I guess bring this one to an end.
Why not?
So why not?
Right?
So anyway, so what does everybody have going on this week?
Good question. Faust, what we got? What can we look forward to?
You can look forward to a history video and a who are what are video, and then a lot of X-Men stuff because I've been reading lots of really old new X-Men stuff,
Nice.
like 2000, well, really old, 2003.
So we get to see like all new X-Men, or I guess new X-Men, and yeah. That was
We
one of the
see-
crazy things about Morrison's run, man. Morrison was like, "Hey guys, I'm ready for the X-Men now." And Marvel's like, "All right, awesome. What are you gonna do?" It's like, "I want you to change the name."
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah,
Put them all in silly outfits and Zorn.
put
Yeah.
them all in leather,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was goofy.
and then they totally, as soon as Morrison left, they made fun of the leather, saying the leather was intimidating people.
That was not going to work. Over here on the newly titled Comic Pop, if you're not familiar, we changed our name from TV Little House to Comic Pop. You can visit us at comicpop.net, which just takes us to the YouTube channel. It's all a ruse. But yeah, we got a new back issues coming out on Thursday. We have an Off the Rack where we talked about Howard the Duck by popular demand, which is hard to imagine saying out loud. We have a comic commentary that we're doing on the Generation X 1996 movie. Looking
watch
forward
that.
to putting out soon. Thank you. It's the only way you can watch it, because we watched it with no commentary and it was almost unwatchable. But it was also incredibly mind-blowing.
So you explained this movie to me, and I've still got this because I know like movie TV pilots were a thing back then.
Yeah.
But the only one I've actually seen was really successful, which was the Sabrina the Teenage Witch one.
Oh,
So
man. Yeah, Sabrina, no, yeah, it's nothing like that. No, it's more like if Joel Schumacher's Batman and Robin director, if he directed like a Lois and Clark meets Dawson's Creek movie with cursing in it. It's really bizarre. And for April Fool's Week, we're doing something totally insane. I'm looking forward.
Shite. It's April Fool's, isn't it?
Yep.
Coming up.
April Fool's is coming up.
And
It's
gonna be
amazing how
nuts.
fast everything's moving. Like, it's
I know.
freaking nuts.
And
Like,
for our
Benny,
Christmas special, because it's Christmas now.
Benny actually had to remind me, like I was telling him, like, man, like, I'm getting ready to do like Deadpool kills Deadpool, like I need to finish that up. He's like, Secret Wars is starting in like a week, and I was like, what? And he was like,
Whoa.
yeah, dude, like Secret Wars, like all that starts in like a week or two.
You're like, wait a minute, I was just about to do an Impossible Man video.
Yeah, like like Avengers, like Hickman's Avengers and New Avengers come to an end in like the next week. And I was like, well.
Well,
I was like, so I guess we got that coming up.
Yeah.
we got Secret Wars, and then don't the Convergence titles start as
They
soon as
do
well?
indeed.
Yep, they all kick off. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, Secret Wars is in May. Convergence is in April. So yeah, that's gonna be nuts.
Busy.
Yeah, it's gonna be so busy. It's gonna be pandemonium. Like it's it's gonna be total pandemonium.
I'm still behind on this week.
Yeah. Well, that's why. Like, that's for those of you guys who are watching. So this week, Lady Deadpool comes out tomorrow. Zombie Deadpool, Headpool comes out the next day. After that, we do Deadpool kills Deadpool, and then we start into it. So it's gonna be pandemonium once everything kicks off. Like it's it's gonna be nuts. But anyway, so yeah. So with that being said, I mean, I guess we can go ahead and call it a day. So
Why not?
why not? All right. We'll catch you guys later.
Yeah.
Peace.